Welcome to Behind the Story, where we discover the story behind your favourite stories. My name's Lisa Renee from the Collaborative Press, and I'm also a Christian romance author.
And I'm Naomi Craig, historical fiction author of Rahab's Courage. We've got a great show lined up today with a Bible trivia face-off, and we've each got a new release out into the world.
That's right. But first, we just want to say congratulations on the winner of last episodes. We had Eleanor Burton, and the winner is posted in our show notes. So do check out if your name is there. So joining today, we have, yes, ourselves, Naomi Craig. She writes historical fiction set in Bible times. She loves reading the Bible and imagining how things were at the time. When she's not regling social media or trying to stay on top of mountains of dishes, you'll most likely find her enjoying a good book and a cup of coffee, or trying to convince her rescue dog, Freeway, to be cute on command for Instagram Reels. Naomi's debut novel, Rahab's Courage, released August 17th. So welcome, my co-host, Naomi Craig.
Yay, thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
So I've read this story a long time ago, well, at least a year ago, and as part of the critique group, I was really excited and really amazed by Naomi's talent and bringing this story to life, and I was quite surprised. So, but first from you, Naomi, tell us what's the story behind the story for Rahab's Courage.
Absolutely. Rahab's Courage is based off of the book of Joshua. There's a woman named Rahab who is in Jericho, and she helps Israelite spies as they're coming in to conquer the land. And so the spies are not named in the Bible. And so I just had this thought, what if one of the spies was her biblical husband later on? She's actually part of Jesus's lineage. So then I just kind of went with that. Turns out everybody who writes biblical fiction has written about Rahab. So it wasn't necessarily a new idea, but I'm really excited because the Lord has just brought this story out into fruition, and I feel like somebody needs to hear this version of Rahab's Courage. So I'm very excited also too. Thank you to the biblical fiction readers who just want all of the books, because they don't really care how many people have written about Rahab. They just want to read all of it. So I'm very thankful for that. So
yeah, definitely. And I mean, that's the same, like, say in romance, people like a trope. They like enemies to lovers or something. They get hooked on a certain thing, even, but it's a different take of it, or fake fiance or something like that. They love that. So biblical fiction, and even they like Rahab's story. But right, you've definitely, brought it to light, and her character, and true to her and to her, what her profession was and how she was in the beginning, and then Salma's struggle with that, and as she develops and gets to know the ways of Yahweh and learning, and how she changes, but the struggle with the old life and all the shame and all that kind of stuff. It's just a beautiful redemption story. So well done.
Thank you.
You did an awesome job with that. So, and you're getting some great reviews coming in. So let's get on to our trivia. We're going to ask each other 5 questions each and see how we go. I tried to find the most obscure stories and random stuff that like one sentence in the Bible. So really like picking on Naomi. So would you like
to put me to the test here? We're gonna Now I know Lisa's got a pretty good Bible knowledge too, because she always checks me and calls me on my scriptural content. So but you never know, what does the other person, what random trivia does the other person hold on to? So yeah, this will be interesting. All right, so number 1, what did the prophet Elisha make float in the river?
Cool. Well, I actually do know this one because Elijah and Elisha are some of my favorite stories years ago. As a new Christian, I just love reading the Book of Kings over and over again. So it is an axe. head?
That's right.
An axe
Yeah,
head?
an axe head. Yeah. Like waiting for the rest of the yeah, it was a loaned axe, and the prophets are like hanging out together, and they're trying to expand and do ministry and make better places for the prophets to live. And he loses the axe in the river, which, you know, an iron axe head is going to sink. So it's really neat how even something small like a borrowed axe head is important to the Lord. So
yeah,
really
that's
cool.
what I just love it. That's just so cool. You know, like, well, just say sorry to the guy. We sorry we lost your axe, but yeah, a miracle happens, you know. And
You can have my child to pay off the axe head. Like
yeah, well, that could happen back in those days.
yeah.
Some strange stuff went on. And there was the story about the water was salty or something, or poisonous or something. No, he put salt in it to make it better or something.
Yeah, there was like a Elisha's got some crazy stories.
Yeah.
There's some poisonous gourd that made it into the soup, and they realized it, and they're like,
Yeah.
man of God, there's death in the pot. And so he throws flour or something like a normal kitchen item.
Yeah,
So it's not the item, it's the Lord's power that neutralizes it. So
yeah, pretty awesome. Yeah, cool. I love those stories. Okay, so my question number one, who was the leader in the Old Testament at the time, when there's a story in the Bible when the ground opened up and swallowed a crowd of people?
the leader of that was Moses. It was either in Leviticus, Numbers, or Deuteronomy. And they were disobeying the Lord, right?
Yeah, it's in Numbers 16. So I've got a part 2 to this question, which is sort of like my question number 2. So yeah, what did he do or instruct to stop it from continuing?
That's crazy. I know there's some pretty extreme measures he uses to stop plagues and death. It's not the golden calf was ground up and sprinkled in water, and then they had to drink it. I don't know. I don't like. Did they spear somebody? Was that a spearing somebody?
No.
No. You're gonna die too. I don't remember. They had to repent, but I don't remember what they.
Yeah. So the story's in Numbers chapter 16, 31. So if anyone wants to check it out, and I sort of was just, as far from memory, it was like an incense. They had to run in the line with the incense. So we'll put the proper reference in there. Yeah. So cool. Your number 2?
Yeah, if you know these, comment below your answers and tell us how many you get right of these. Let's see what sort of Bible trivia connoisseur you are. See if you can if you can beat out Lisa or I on our numbers right. So all right, number 2. This is found in the book of Judges. Who was the left-handed assassin who killed the obese, super fat King Eglon?
Okay. Well, I could just make up some random name. I do know that story, and it's really gross that, he just said, like, he's pretty much his hand and sword or what, the knife got swallowed up or something by his fat. Well, that's what I imagined when I read it. I know what the story, but I don't know his name.
It starts with an E, actually. They're both E's.
Okay.
Does that help?
Eliab or Eliash or something. I would be just guessing Ilium.
His name is Ehud.
Okay, Ehud, no.
Yeah, that's a pretty, so Ehud is mentioned as being left-handed, which would get him in because he's going to go into the king, and, being right-handed, you'd be patted down on the left-hand side to see if you're got a secret weapon. But being that he was left-handed, nobody thought to pat down his right side for a weapon. So he sneaks in and does this whole assassination on the king.
Wow. There you go.
He locks the door, and then some translations say that he sneaks out through the king's latrine to escape. And nobody knows this poor king. Well, not poor king. He was a evil king, but nobody knows he's dead for a while. So shame on the guy who didn't search the left-handed man. Shame on all the servants there.
All right. Well, I guess all the training now for assassins is that trick has been exposed. So that can't get used again. All right. Well, I've got a number, my official number 3. Name one of Job's daughters. So I'm talking about after everything's restored at the end of Job. It's in Job chapter 42.
Is it I know they're more beautiful than all the ladies from the land. I think both the first set and the second set of daughters were were stunning. Is it a common Bible name or is it just an obscure name?
There are actually people named today after. Do you know any Old Testament girls' names other than Deborah and Esther and Hannah?
I mean, I know quite a bit, but I don't. None of them's ringing a.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't have known. It's just my friend named her daughter this. So then I knew that. But then I was surprised there is another name that's quite common that's been used for centuries.
I give up.
Okay. I give up. Well, it's actually 3 daughters. I thought he had 4, but when I looked it up, so Kezia is the one that my friend's daughter is named Kezia. It's quite a pretty name.
That's pretty. Yeah.
Yeah. And Jemimah. So that's Jemimah. And then a rare, weird one, Kezin Hapuk, Happuch. So Happuch.
Do you have Aunt Jemima's syrup? Like a
no,
like a fake syrup, not maple syrup.
Oh, right. No, I don't know that brand. No,
that's funny. Now it's known as like a old Southern name, so obviously it's even older and more South than Southern USA. How funny.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we know we have Jemimas here in Australia, so probably the British used to. So cool. Do you have a question for me?
Yeah. Excuse me. In the New Testament, what was Luke's occupation? He was the one who wrote the Gospel of Luke and Acts. What was his occupation?
Dr. Luke.
Right,
I don't know what he was a doctor of, probably medicine or something, but I remember him being called Dr. Luke or something like that. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if they had other kinds of doctors at that time. It would have been a physician.
Yeah, cool. Okay. All right, this is another weird and wonderful interesting thing that happened in the Old Testament. So Saul was, when he was king, he asked a medium, a witch, sort of whatever you want to call her, a medium, I guess, to raise someone from the dead. He had a question for a dead person. Who did he want to speak to?
That one is Samuel. Samuel had already died, and I don't know why Saul wanted to talk to him, because he never listened to him during his life. So it's such a weird story though, isn't it? Because you don't, like, most Christian denominations don't believe that you can raise people from the dead. Like, who wants to live, wants to die.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely, I was, until I read that, because, you have clairvoyance and that's probably what she was called, clairvoyant or something. But yeah, and that's, speaking to someone on the dead. And the weird thing is that he did. Samuel did speak to him. He's like, why have you woken me up?
Right. He's super mad at Saul. You've messed up again. What is your problem?
Yeah. So I guess in the Old Testament, I mean, there's all different theories and doctrines on what, when people die since Jesus rose again, like since Jesus rose, what happens to someone if they sleep or they're resting in paradise or they actually in heaven. So won't go into all that part.
Yeah.
In the Old Testament, it was, I guess it seems to be paradise and Hades, and which they are resting. And so whether that, anyway, do not practice.
Do not practice. Not a good idea.
It says in the Bible, do not do that. Do not try and talk to the dead. Just pray to Jesus, please. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Another question.
That's funny. All right. So which of the tribes of Israel were prohibited from owning land in the promised land?
The Levites, because they were the priests.
That's right. Their inheritance was the Lord. So, which is pretty cool to look at, but
Your
he's a
inheritance
God.
is the Lord. You just
It's
survive for
like
him.
they're like walking around. Hey, you should see my house. Well, you should see I've got God. So
I'm special.
I'm special.
And the part of the offerings and stuff they were provided for, like given food and all that kind of stuff, were able to take portions.
Yeah, the tithe. Yep. Part of that would go towards them.
Yeah, and which is, today, I guess, pastors and stuff, they rely on the tithe, the congregation giving to support them. Yeah. Cool. All right.
So what you've learned today is do not practice witchcraft and make sure you tithe.
Cool. And Kezzy is a nice, pretty name if you're pregnant with a girl. There's not just Hannah and Esther.
That's right. That's right.
That's why my girls' names all my boys' names are biblical, and then the girls have got sort of like a different it's sort of got a little bit about Annalise. That's there was an Anna, and Elizabeth, sort of Elise comes from Elizabeth, and then Michaela, which is sort of like the archangel Michael, but Michaela, the girl's name. But
call him a dark angel or an archangel?
Archangel.
Okay, I'm like, I don't think he was a dark angel.
What version
of the Bible? He was a good guy.
Cool. All right. Now this is something weird, and it's not talked about because it's only one line in the Bible, and it's not really enough information to make any assumptions or scriptures, but it shows you something was happening back then. Where and who talks about the baptism for the dead, like being baptized on behalf of a dead person?
It's kind of triggering, like, you kind of know this somewhere in my brain. Is that Paul? Does he say something about that?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. It's just a random sort of line, and he's just talking about, so in 1 Corinthians 15:29, he says, if the dead will not be raised, what point is there in people being baptized for those who are dead? Why do it unless the dead will someday rise again? So anyway, sounds like people were practicing that in the just around his time, but obviously we don't practice it now. But I don't think the Catholics practice that. I give money to purgatory, so to get people.
I have heard of it, but I don't. I'm not sure who currently is, or is that just hearsay? Like, is that one of the that's one of those legends that you hear from those people? So
yeah. So it's not. I haven't heard of any denominations or cults or anything practicing being baptizing on behalf of the dead. So yeah, but anyway, there's this random line there that's like to be a bit controversial. It's like, this is weird thing. Yeah, but
the Bible is definitely not rated G. It's not a light and fluffy. There's a lot of definitely controversial, but also just really random things. It's like, what? Was this cultural, or was this a one-time event? Or there's a lot of crazy things happening in the Bible.
Yeah, and we could talk about a lot of controversial things and opinions about stuff. Cool. All right, we'll move on. All
right, my last question for you, in reference to Rahab's courage. Who was the 5th generation? So we have Rahab here, her son, their son, their son, their son. Who was the I guess her 4th grandson? Who was her 4th grandson?
Okay, well, I don't know exactly in order. I know a few of them in the line. I would think you might pick King David. But the
Very good. Yeah, that's
Boaz and
it.
all that kind of stuff. Yeah, King David
Yeah,
was. Yeah,
yeah, that's
cool.
it.
Yeah,
Nice
so
job. So we have Rahab. Her son was Boaz, and that
all right, yeah,
he's mentioned in Ruth.
yeah,
And then Boaz's son was Obed, and Obed was Jesse, and then Jesse's son, one of Jesse's sons, was David. So well
yeah,
done.
yeah. Okay, I do know those ones, but I forgot that Boaz was under Rahab. Yeah, so that's interesting. So yeah,
Yeah, it's really interesting because we right away he's in, like, it's not long that she's plugged away, so and so, we got so and so and so and so. It was really quickly into her story that the Lord started bringing to fruition his plan for the Messiah. So
So in Ruth, in the book of Ruth, is it mentioned Boaz that his mother is Rahab or Salma
I
or
know
as
his
Salma?
it does say his dad. It does
Yeah,
say
okay,
Salma, or
yeah,
Salmon, depending on
right.
different books in the Bible will spell it differently. So sometimes it's Salmon is the father of Boaz, but I don't remember if mom is mentioned in Ruth or not.
No, because there's, I think in the New Testament, when they do the lineage of Jesus, they do one with the males, don't they? They do the one, they mention the females as well. Like Ruth
Yeah, so
mentioned
there's in the
Rahab.
book of Matthew 1, there is 5 women who are mentioned who are associated with it, but usually it's the males,
Yeah.
it's the father. So yeah, they're all scandalous ladies too, like Tamar
Yes.
was had children through Judah, and then Rahab was a Canaanite harlot, and then Bathsheba was another man's wife, and then let's see, Tamar, Rahab, Bathsheba. I'm missing somebody. Who am I missing?
Someone who wasn't.
Ruth. Ruth was a Moabitess, and so that
Yeah.
was
Okay. Yeah.
against policy. And then Mary was an unwed mother. So
Yeah.
a lot of scandalous things, but that just leaves it open for God's grace to be even more amazing, like,
Yeah. Cool.
like
All right. We actually have a question as well from Carrie. She wanted to ask a bit about it. So, what made you want to write about Rahab? And is this your first biblical fiction novel?
Yeah, so this is my first biblical fiction novel. Rahab, I mentioned how it was just came to my mind how I wonder if one of those spies was her biblical husband, and I just kind of played with that. Um, and and as far as it was just it just I don't know. I think like you've mentioned, Rahab's story is quite spectacular.
Mm.
She commits treason against her own city. She saves the spies, and steps out in faith. And I just tried to show. I mean, when the Lord's teaching me something, I don't instantly obey and know. Like, it takes me a while to get things. So I just tried to show in a realistic light, what would she look like if she's coming out. The Bible does say she was a harlot. If she's coming out of that background, she's going to have a lot of baggage. She's going to have a lot of emotional baggage. She's not going to know how to interact properly.
Mm.
Um, and it's not necessarily, yes, she had the faith, and faith that was so strong, that's mentioned all the way into Hebrews in the Hall of Faith, and she's mentioned in James for her faith. It's so strong, but I think that the Lord allows us to make those really bold movements, and then sometimes we kind of have to catch up with ourselves, and then, like, it's not like we're all the time going to be amazing and bold. So just to show the process of her assimilating into the nation of Israel. And I mention it in my Balaam book, but just before they cross the Jordan, there's another plague, another one of those crazy plagues, because the Israelites have gotten themselves involved with harlots and worshiping idols and eating the food sacrificed to idols. Like, so why would the Israelites be accepting of a harlot? Like, there's a lot of social injustice there that happens, that how I pictured it. So Like they're not going to just be like, oh yes, come into our fold because you're a harlot. They're just, it seemed like it would be like, whoa, hold on, are you sure that you're changed? Are you really sure? Like, because we've been burned before, so
yeah, that's it. And she had a time to transition and to learn the culture, and then other people judging her and holding that against her power, which is something like we can use. And that brings on to the next one of the next questions. How is this novel relevant for today?
Well, I think the word of God is always living. Like it's it's very relevant for today. And as far as like the stories of the people, like I said, there's social inequality she deals with due to her past as a harlot, you know, whether that was something she was forced into and sold into, or if she chose it. It's still, you're going to come off with a lot of baggage. So she struggles with mental health, and that's a really big thing. It's getting talked about more. I love seeing it popping up in novels, like in yours, Polarized Love. And I believe you've done some of your other novels, you talk about that too, right? Like in More Than a Second Chance. And yeah, like I love that it's getting more normal to talk about mental illness, because we have such a stigma against, you look fine, why aren't you acting like you're fine? Like it's not, if you were wearing a cast on your leg, I would not ask you to run a marathon. That would be foolish, you know. But with the mental block, you don't necessarily see why this person is reacting this way. So I hope I did honor to that.
Yes. And you definitely you know, modern day, a lot of people dealing with trauma, things that they happened in their past, so whether it's childhood or whatever. And we don't know Rahab's full story, like when she was sold into prostitution or whatever, or why she had to use that method for income. But also the trauma of, you know, she wouldn't have been enjoying her job, you know, like she'd been used and abused and treated harshly, and you know,
and not necessarily knowing that there's a way out either. And then all of a sudden, here come these Israelite spies, and you know, she can start to feel hope, like, maybe I can do it differently.
Yeah.
You know, so
Carrie also asked, what biblical research? Tell us a bit about how you go about your biblical research.
Well, there's not a whole lot documented for Rahab's time period, so that does give a little bit more flexibility as far as like, and obviously this is not biblically accurate, because if you look at a movie or a TV show, you can imagine what the biblical world would have looked like, but obviously they didn't have cameras. So reading a lot of other biblical fiction novels to kind of get the feel of the land, and using Google Earth and stuff, you can kind of look at the the landscape, if you will. And then also through the scripture, you know, finding not only is she, you can know who someone is by who their children are too. So her son is Boaz, and you see a lot of Boaz's character in the book of Ruth, because he marries Ruth. So you can you just kind of see the big picture. I did a prequel to kind of look at it from the other perspective of Salma's brother, and you know, what they were like, who Salma was and why he was so rigid on his stance on the, you know, he was very, if he was a couple thousand years later, he would have been a really good Pharisee, like doing it to the letter of the law, but not looking at the spirit of what love meant, you know. And so to try to show that, and so you see a lot of the back culture too by looking at earlier in Numbers, where you have those crazy earth swallowing events and donkeys talking and stuff like that. So you can kind of look at the before and the after and kind of fit together what's happening here and now.
Yeah, awesome, great. Okay, and so there is some bonus material. You go to naomicraig.com and you can get the prequel if you prove your purchase. even probably downloading on Kindle Unlimited, I suppose. Celebrate Lit is the publisher, so they'll work that out. But I know it was for pre-order and the week of launch, so just check when you watch this video whether that's up to date. But Naomi does give away also, when you subscribe to her newsletter, the story of Balaam and the talking donkey. Cool. So also, so that's August the 17th that Naomi's book came out, and my books come out on the 24th of August, and that is Fake Identity at Stake. It's a Christian rom-com. So yeah, it was interesting. I had this manuscript written last year, the end of last year, November, but I had someone read it, and she thought, yeah, it's definitely a rom-com. So yeah, the rom-coms are very popular at the moment. And I was sort of seeing there was a bit of a gap in the market with Christian rom-coms. So there's lots of sweet and clean rom-coms coming out, which which is great. You know that you're not going to get anything nasty in there. So, and they're fun to read. And then some really great ones with some really great character development and some meaty, takeaways as well. But I chose to do mine to be Christian as well and have a spiritual arc involved. So yeah.
So, and that's really cool too. So is fake engagement, I have to really think about what I'm saying because their names are so similar sounding. Yeah. Fake engagement mistake, is that meant to be a prequel, or is it kind of parallel to Fake Identity?
It is actually, so it's a separate story of a couple that is in the same country town, and Jake from book 1, Fake Identity at Stake, is talked about, and Ethan, another character. So the town set up, the town gossip and all that is all in there. And but it is a story in itself. And so I have that for free as an ebook and now an audiobook. So you can subscribe to my audiobook newsletter, which just comes out not as frequently, or if you like, some people actually prefer ebook and they don't listen to audiobooks. So so that one, they're for free as well, but they're a separate story. They set up, and I wrote that after. So I wrote Fake Identity at Stake first, and then I thought, I'll do a bonus giveaway, to get people in the series, because it is a new series and it is a new, sort of a bit like a new genre for me. Although a lot of my stories have a lot of humor in it. Like Polarized Love is, majority romance, and I haven't promoted it as a rom-com, although it's quite funny, and lots of fun.
Yeah, it's got some fun elements. So yeah, so I just listened to, if you don't listen to audio, this is definitely a chance. This is a free audiobook. It was fantastically narrated. And it's just a fun story. So even if you don't, it's free. So there's definitely benefits to purchasing, or to getting that from Lisa's from her download. It's a great story. It is sweet and cute and funny, with a fake engagement. And I love how it's just usually when it's a fake marriage or fake engagement trope, nobody else knows about it, so they have to tiptoe around everybody. I love how you actually included the friends in with that one too. That was pretty fun.
Yeah, I try to there is a group of friends sort of involved in the series, and I think that's nice to connect the country town and have friends and stuff. So yeah, it's a bit different. My first series is actually the main characters are in their 40s, mainly the first two, and the second one is they're in their early 30s, 30, 31. Mm-hmm. And the prequel was, the guy's 28. And the girl is 23. So that was a little bit of a thing why they didn't really see each other that way. Earlier on, they grew up together and that, but he seemed way older. Paul in Fake Engagement Mistake seemed way older. And so just saw her as a little sister. And so now things have changed. She's getting older, obviously. And there's slim pickings in the small towns. So,
yeah.
So but anyway, so that's it. Yeah, it is a bit of a cute story. Fake Identity at Stake is a lot meatier as far as the character arc and the spiritual arc, and there's dealing with some deep issues in different parts. So but it is very fun.
What's the story behind Fake Identity?
Yeah, well, I actually wrote the story for an agent and to get published, which it went right through to them wanting to present it to a publisher. They really liked it. So actually, it was a very good agent, a very well-known lady, and one of the top agents in Christian fiction. And I just presented an idea for her and a sample chapter. And then she said, "Oh, I love it. Send me the first 3 chapters." So I said, "Did that. Oh, I love it. Send the whole thing." So I had to write it. I hadn't written it. So I wrote that in like 30 days.
Yeah.
Gave it to you guys to look over, my editor. And got it back to her for Christmas last year. And then it takes a long process when you're trying to get traditionally published. And during that time, I was having a lot of more success with my other books and my series, going number 1 in different Christian categories with my debut, even though it was published in 2019, still was able to do promotions, hit the number 1 in Amazon. Yeah. So learning other things like Amazon ads and that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, I guess I do like the self-publishing and I do like marketing. I know a lot of people don't like doing that, but I like the challenge of that and building a business. I've always done businesses and marketing, so in the past. So, yeah, I just, I thought if I do sell this manuscript, I won't have control over whether it becomes an audiobook, because the publisher that they were going to go for probably wouldn't have done audiobook for it. So I decided, hey, I know the industry in the trade industry is a bit up and down at the moment with all, bookstores, with COVID and everything not being a lot of people. I've heard that it's been like a switch. Before it was like 70% or something, people buying paperbacks and then 30% ebooks, and it switched to 70% ebooks and 30%. Wow. A really huge switch. So being on Amazon, being on ebook is the best, and that's what I do. I'm doing marketing, and so a publisher is the advantage of a publisher. They're getting the print books, hopefully in stores and that kind of stuff, but it's just like 30 days. You've got to prove it. It's got to do well in those 30 days. And then after that, they don't really do much with your book. So so I thought, no, I'm going to keep this one, and maybe down the track I might think about publishing maybe when the industry's a bit better. So it was really exciting to find this narrator who's a Christian narrator. At first I was sort of searching on Find Away Voices, and there was a lot of narrator samples they gave me, and they'd done erotica and other stuff as well, or whatever, and I was like, oh, I don't really want that name to be on my Christian.
Yeah.
I found a narrator which narrated Donna Lane's fantasy novels, one of our critique partners, and she was able to contact Mim Drew for me, and she's an actress in LA and she does an amazing job. So I've got some samples on YouTube on both books. She narrated the novella and Fake Identity at Stake. That'll be probably up. I don't know how long it takes to publish it online, but people can buy it direct from me, the author, and or get it from me directly until it's available, on Apple Books and Audible and all that kind of stuff. But September it'll be available for public. So I'm doing a giveaway as well. So it's the retail price is $14.99 for a audiobook, and so I'm doing a giveaway, and also it's actually my 2-year anniversary from my first published novel, my debut, so which was More Than a Second Chance. So the Single Again series started off August the 31st 2019, so it's 2-year anniversary. So I'm giving away one of my favorite books from the series, which is Polarized Love, which I'm just saying, it's an awesome story, deals with mental health. There's sort of a bit of a love triangle there, and it's quite like the first 6 chapters are very rom-com style, but there's some deep themes and some Christian, really thought-provoking themes in there. So Naomi has some paperbacks in the US for me, and I have some in Australia. So it's open to US or Australian residents. And so whoever wins will get a paperback, and we'll have a giveaway as well for an audiobook of my new release, Fake Identity at Stake.
Now, how did you, so if, I'm not sure if you've mentioned it yet, but so fake identity is Caitlin has to go into witness protection. She's seen something she can't unsee, and now the bad guys are out to get her. She goes to this small town that we've talked about for fake engagement. And so she has a wig, she has contact lenses. So she's a completely different identity. Starts out very humorous with her neighbor. And of course they fall in love, and you know, there's lots of twists and turns and lots of underwear and lots of Great Dane humor.
Yeah, boxer shorts. Let's clarify what underwear.
Let's
It is Christian fiction.
Yeah, sorry, no, it's the guy's wandering around in his boxer shorts, so it's very funny.
There's a couple of mention of boxer shorts. Yeah, so I try to stay away from suspense, and it's not a romantic suspense, but it does sort of has some suspense, but it's not on page danger like a really major.
Yeah.
There are some incidences, but they end up being quite funny because that's the rom-com. So don't worry if you like me and a bit of a
scary, I promise.
There's no blood. Yeah, well, the chickens do get mauled, but you don't really get to see much of that stuff happening. But yeah, so it's I guess I am stepping out a bit doing this new genre and like doing like a cartoonish sort of graphic cover, but it's quite a pretty one and all that. But yeah, so yeah, it's able to lend itself to rom-com because of the situation. The mistaken identity, I guess, is one of the tropes. So and sets it up to be even funnier than normal tropes and that kind of stuff. So yeah, so I ran with that. And then so we had I tried to avoid the suspense, but someone said, like, even though there's sort of an incident early on that's sort of resolved, someone said it still feels like something's going to happen with this, you know, the hitman or something's going to happen. And so you sort of set that up, so you really need to you know, fulfill that promise sort of thing. And because I'm focusing mainly, the focus is on the romance and stuff. It's a romance and rom-com funny stuff. So yeah, so we have a little surprise at the end, and that's like, but it ends up being like a funny situation and that. But so yes, there's a little bit of a little, I guess you might call it twist. And there is something that you feel in the beginning that isn't really resolved. Like she does something, she breaks the rules earlier on, and you sort of look, it feels like she gets away with that. So, and I was going to have her get away with that sort of thing. But anyway, so this little incident at the end is like, she didn't totally get away with it, like not following the rules of the FBI. So yeah.
So how do you research witness protection? I imagine that's quite secretive.
Yeah, so that's a bit of a challenge, and I guess it's the cool thing about that, you can be, you know, use your creativity and like how you think it would happen. So some of it's not, you know, 100% accurate, you know, it's my take of it. But it was interesting that Donna Lane, in one of our critique partners, she came up, she like seemed to know a lot about stuff. We were asking questions for this. She's going, oh yeah, da 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 da, and we're like, do you have
how do you know?
what did you do in your past? What job did you have? Like, you know, so that was interesting. So she seemed to know about that. But yeah, I did Google a lot, try to get the terms, and also, because I'm Australian, reaching like who would be fulfilling these roles, like the sheriff or the police, you know, the FBI, WITSEC, and all this, finding out the terms and stuff. So that was quite interesting. But yeah, some of it I sort of played around with, you know, probably they wouldn't wear wigs, but I have it in there that because that was going to be the fun thing, that Jake found the wig and he was going to assume something else and go, he was going to assume something different. And that takes us to another theme, a deeper theme that happens in the book. So, so my excuse for her having a wig rather than changing her hair color and haircut is that she has never, it's like my daughter, she doesn't cut her hair. She's got really long hair to her waist, and like she'll let only me, not a hairdresser, like cut like an inch off, like the dry ends, maybe 2 inches or something now and every 6 months. So that's Caitlin's thing. And like Conway, the FBI, is like, well, you can just cut and color it, you know. And she's like, he just doesn't get it. He's a man. He does not get how long this is taking me to grow. And I like my hair and I don't want it to be blonde. And so she's got dark hair. So she wears the wig, but then that causes some problems down the track.
Well, she doesn't go to Clear Creek County planning to fall in love either. So if he had just left her alone, it would have worked out just fine. But that adds to the comedy of the situation, of course. So
yeah, that's right. So she could have, the case would be closed and she could have went back to where she came from or moved somewhere else.
And there would have been no story. So
yeah, that would have been a bit boring. Yeah.
Nobody would have cared.
She's Jake's fallen in love with Charlotte, her alias, and to the point, where he wants to get married to her and he's really fallen for her. And then he's like finds out eventually. And then, what does he do with that? Because she just lied. And then there's all these other situations that really hurt him because of that lie, but she had no choice. So that's him having to, I guess there's two sort of character arcs. He is this good boy Christian sort of thing, and got his life in order, is a perfectionist, he's a good guy, and and then Caitlin is sort of like a newish Christian, like she's been a Christian for a couple of years, but she's sort of still finding her way. She's sort of backslid and then sort of coming back to God and trusting in God this time, not trusting in man, that other Christians that have let her down. She has to come through that and find her own faith based on, her relationship. And so she's sent to this country where she doesn't know anyone. And so she really does need to reconnect to God. And he's there, for her. And that I explain the beautiful nature and beautiful scenery of Clear Creek County, these mountains and all that kind of stuff. So whereas Jake, has to, his concept of lying and this and that, and then, and then understanding Caitlin, her situation. So he's got some stuff to work through.
Yeah, he's got to work through it too. So awesome. So what book would you say, real quick, what hooked you on the rom-com genre?
Well, so as far as like the one I've written or other people's,
which one that you've read, like, hey, I can do that, I can, which one hooked you?
So I really love Melissa Ferguson's the Cul-de-sac War. That is so funny, it's so well done. She does a lot of detail of description as well, which I like to do a bit, not as much as her, she's really full on with it. But people comment a lot about my descriptions and stuff like that of the scenes and action. So but her one was I didn't mind, but because it was from Thomas Nelson, I did have in my mind that it was going to be Christian fiction. And so it wasn't until like chapter 14 or 15 before they even mention like that she goes to church or something, but there's no going to church, of course, or anything like that. And there is later in talking a little bit about the afterlife sort of thing, but it's not, the word heaven is not mentioned. The word Christian isn't mentioned. So it's definitely not a Christian fiction, but it's the characters, they are Christian. And I think it's great, how they conducted themselves in their relationship and all that kind of stuff. He's seeing someone at the other time, but you don't see that which I think is wise that they didn't have him kissing her or anything because he's ends up falling in love with his neighbor. But anyway, so I'd already written my story before I actually read that, but then I was seeing that maybe mine could be classed as a rom-com. So I'd already written my story. I already like lighthearted humor. So, and I had a funny, so it wasn't like I thought it was going to be promoted as a rom-com. It was more the fake identity, and my flavor already is fun and lighthearted. All my books have that funny banter and dialogue and flirting and sort of fun situations, but this one just really lent itself. So it wasn't really like I planned. Then I saw that rom-coms are very popular and Sweet and Clean, and that I was trying to find what Christians are writing rom-coms, and there is a couple, and now they're starting to do the covers, so there's not a lot. So I just thought, maybe I should promote it, like make a rom-com series, not just do this one. And like I sort of set it up, there's another guy in there, Ethan, and he's quite fun and stuff, and so I already had him in mind for a book too. But yeah, so that's how it ended up being rom-com.
Excellent. Well, good on you. That turned out really good. It's really fun to see the different styles and you doing it well. That's just great job. You just busted that out. Of course, you just released another one a couple months ago, so you're just doing well.
Yeah, well, No Filter is quite fun as well. I made that quite funny. So yeah, that one came out June 22nd.
There you go, right there.
Yeah, so that's a good yeah, the guy in there, he's like Ethan in my new one. Yeah, the guy Chance, he's quite fun and a bit of a clown, and Melissa's a bit serious. So yeah, he helps her to lighten up. So but yeah, and you've got cute kids doing cute stuff, so that makes it fun. But yeah, that was with a different series, and so yeah, I just kept that like not promoting as a rom-com, but yeah, it's quite fun too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, cool. Well, how can audiences get a hold of you, Lisa?
Okay, so I'm on Instagram and Facebook, but lisareneeauthor.com, and we'll have links if you want the free novellas, Fake Engagement, either on ebook or audiobook. So we'll have the links down there. And Naomi, how can we get a hold of Rahab's Courage?
The best way is through my website, naomicraig.com. I'm most visible on Instagram, Naomi Craig Author. And I do have a freebie novella. This is on Desolate Heights. It's about Balaam and his talking donkey. And there's actually some crossover characters from Rahab. So if you're reading them in conjunction, you might catch up on those. And yeah, so that's the best way.
Cool. And so we've got some great lineups for the rest of the year. We've even got Rachel Huck coming on. I think she's in December. So if you enjoy learning about new authors, just subscribe to either our YouTube channels, or we have the podcast, which is on Spotify and other channels. So we'll have the links down there. And so then you'll be notified when we come on. So once a fortnight, we'll release an episode.
And don't forget, we've got lots of giveaways to celebrate my debut and Lisa's 2-year anniversary and her latest launch. I'll be giving away a copy of Rahab's Courage, and Lisa's got, aside from our freebies, there's a Polarized Love and Polarized Love right?
Yes.
And Fake Identity at Stake. So
you nearly went into Australian accent there.
Did I really?
And the audiobook is by an American, and she's done such an awesome job. So you can listen to that on YouTube. I might put the links on there as well. So thank you for joining us for this edition of Behind the Story. Until next time, let us run with endurance the race set before us, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith. God bless. Bye. So thank you again for joining us today on Behind the Story with Naomi and Lisa. Don't forget to click on the links and subscribe to our YouTube channels, and you'll keep up to date with our author interviews. Have a great week. God bless.